She's the only woman hosting a gun talk show. She's here tonight. Pretty cool, huh? Welcome into my State of Mind. I am Dan Yorke, and thank God it's Friday. There are Fridays where you just thank the Lord for it. So it's good to see you. I'm hoping you feel the same way. Maybe you're just saying, thank God the Dan Yorke State of Mind show is on. That would be nice. I'm goofy today. It all started when I forgot to put on a pair of socks. And you got to follow me on Twitter to get the Jess is all over that one tonight. So I don't have time to explain it, so just trust me. Daria Bruno is my guest tonight. She hosts a radio show on WHJJ Radio, our competitor in the radio business. But she's a longtime broadcaster who's now gone into the world of weapons instruction, and it's fascinating. She's the only woman doing it, so I can't wait to meet her, and we'll cover all that as we go, but we should go to this camera and do the rundown, which is how we do the rundown. Just wanted you to know that. We'll talk about it. The state police stop into Cranston, and, while they're around, they're asked to do a whole bunch more. Another one of these, big time tonight. It's exhausting, don't you think? It really is. Well, one of them, I have lots of favorite candies, but I didn't realize what they were doing to, what the kids are doing with the candy, and you'd have to admit Sunday is, without doubt, the best day in football. Let's break all that down, get this show on the road. This is something that you just ought to know, at least while you're out there doing all you fast-fingered types. Here's the headline in the Washington Post today. Limits are set on phone data collection program. This is all about the NSA and its surveillance of us and the world in an effort to keep us safe. But, of course, our privacy rights are in jeopardy, and the president's been under a lot of heat to make some adjustments. He had a press conference today or an announcement at the Justice Department to talk about some of the changes. Do you follow all this?
I've ordered that the transition away from the existing program will proceed in 2 steps. Effective immediately, we will only pursue phone calls that are 2 steps removed from a number associated with a terrorist organization instead of the current 3. And I have directed the Attorney General to work with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court so that during this transition period, the database can be queried only after a judicial finding or in the case of a true emergency.
Okay, so they got all the data, but they can only check into it based on all that. You decide whether or not you're comfortable with that or not. A couple of thoughts I had, though. One little factoid in this is that there are a couple of 100 million texts that are taken in, at least by the data, daily. I talked to Jess about it today. She's my producer. She doesn't think that's such a big deal because she thinks some kids are texting 200 million times a day anyway. But I just in case you were sending something provocative, just know. And the other thing about all this, it dawns on me that if not for Ed Snowden, none of this would be changing. And so I think we still have a very interesting debate as to whether he's a criminal or a whistleblower. I know he's not in the country. All right, let's move on here. Providence Journal headline, State Police Inquiry Expands. This is all about Cranston. And we've been talking about this just about every night because it's an ongoing circus there. This is about the ticket blitz back in November that was identified by the 2 city councilors in Cranston who said that their wards had been peppered by tickets the night after they voted no on a police contract in the Finance Committee. Since then, the mayor went lions and tigers and bears, oh my, but conducted an internal review with his police department and then said, okay, under pressure, I'll put on a consultant to review that. And then after the local investigation from the police department came up on its own police department, he said, not good enough, now I got to bring in the state police. And then when he brought in the state police, he then let the chief go or moved him over administratively, suspended him kind of with pay. Administrative leave, they call it, and it's been one circus after another. Now, the council was the one that wanted the state police in, but the mayor beat him, and then he called the council political, and they said, no, you're political, and he said, no, you're political, and they said, no, you're political, that kind of thing. And that's all what's been going on. So last night, there was a resolve by the Council Finance Committee to thank the state police to demand that the mayor come speak to them and to ask the state police to, while you're here, you might as well investigate the department from soup to nuts because we hear we got other problems. Carlos Ortiz is the chief of staff to Mayor Fung, and he was fighting back at the council meeting last night.
I've been accessible to all of you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I can tell you for the record that not once has Councilman Stikos, Arquette, or any other council person called me, the mayor, or any member of this administration to request such a meeting. The mayor would be happy to sit with the council and discuss this matter, most likely in an executive session setting, as there are very delicate personnel matters that cannot be spoken in public.
You know, that's a little disingenuous. I appreciate Mr. Ortiz and his diplomacy. The truth be told, the mayor could be aggressive and respectful of the legislative form of government and say, by the way, guys, you should be informed since you represent the people as well. That hasn't happened. One Republican, Don Botts, voted no on this resolution. He offered his thoughts.
Obviously, the state police are here now. They're doing a thorough investigation. I think we should just leave them alone and let them conduct their investigation. As I alluded to in the meeting, I spoke to Colonel O'Donnell today. He was willing to come before the council and discuss any high-level overview of what's going on, and obviously some questions he would not be able to answer personnel-wise and Bill of Rights issues, but otherwise he was willing to come here. And that's what ultimately we're trying to do, is just get the truth.
Yeah, well, guess what? The citizens of Cranston need the truth. We'll pick up on this next week. Joe Rodi will be with us. He is an attorney. This is on Tuesday night, I think. He is the attorney for the Cranston Police Union. And he says, oh, yeah, the captain ordered all this because all these guys wanted it. Yeah, that's the ticket. So anyway, stay tuned. It's ongoing. All right, let's hustle along here. An immigration rally in Providence today. By the time you've seen this program, it has already occurred or underway. Here was the headline of the press release that was sent out. Cicilline and Gutierrez to hold immigration rally in Providence. They are two congresspeople. Cicilline ours, Gutierrez from Illinois. They both are on the Judiciary Committee in Congress now. And David Cicilline offered this invitation for people to come speak and support immigration reform on his YouTube channel.
Hi, I'm Congressman David Cicilline. Please join me and my colleague, Congressman Luis Gutierrez, at a rally for comprehensive immigration reform. We need your presence to demand immigration reform now. Please join us.
We'll probably talk about this on Monday when we hear what was said, but the Senate passed it, meaning immigration reform. The Congress couldn't get to it, so I understand why they're trying to build some momentum. I'm just praying that we get a resolution here. We have too many conflicts between federal and state law when it comes to immigration, and this is an exhausting issue for people. It's so exhausting that people put it low when they poll or are polled and asked, what's most important to you? You know, immigration doesn't come up high, but there's no doubt that has a very, very, very important intertwining component to our economy and our quality of life and all of that. So we can keep talking, but we need a plan, man. All right, this is crazy. This is my favorite candy. Well, I have a lot. Look at me. You don't think I have a bunch of favorite candy? Anyway, I apologize. I like Smarties. You've seen Smarties, right? Do we have a picture of Smarties? Yeah, there we are. Rox doesn't like Smarties, and Jess doesn't like them too much either. But I got to tell you, I'll sit there all day and just, I like to open the package. I like to chew on them. Sometimes they come oversized, not as much fun. Anyway, I guess the kids are finding it to be fun as well, because we got this advisory today from the Portsmouth Patch. Well, the Patch reports on the advisory. Portsmouth school system is warning parents of students that the kids are snorting Smarties. I went to the internet and I watched a YouTube video. I wasn't authorized to play it here, but they crush up the Smarties, and then they line it up and they, snort it like it's cocaine. Now, listen, I've never snorted a line of cocaine, so I really don't know how to do it. But I know I don't know how to snort Smarties. There's a whole list of problems: nasal infections, stuff gets stuck up there. Even can turn out, I'm sorry to tell you this, but tell the kids, some doctors are warning that maggots could end up in your cranium. Because when the stuff gets stuck, could you tell the kids it's not cool to try to reflect cocaine snorting? And it's just not right. Now, I thought maybe this might be a little bit or a lot of, so I asked about it on the radio today, and this dad, Phil, says, oh, yeah, I talked to my daughter in Portsmouth. Oh, it's going on all the time.
I have a 13-year-old daughter in Portsmouth. She said it's pretty prevalent. It's pretty widespread in the school. And, she's dead set against it, thinks it's pretty gross. But she said some of these kids think that they feel cool when they do it. They're imitating adults.
Did she suggest that it was prevalent or just a bunch of knuckleheads?
No, she said it was actually pretty prevalent. She thought that, anybody that wanted to be, in the cool, in the loop, was kind of buying these things and doing this.
I don't know even what was. Kids, don't snort your Smarties. Eat your Smarties. Just want it. Listen, it's public service. I think parenting middle school kids, and that's the group, it's probably the hardest thing. It's the hardest time for parents. Anyway, you're warned. I'll never be able to have Smarties again without thinking about these nutty kids. And finally, it's the best day in football. It's the best day in football. So I said, hey, just give me some real take charge. Let's go. Let's get it on here type of football video for the Patriots. NFC, AFC, biggest day of the year. Patriots at 3, playing Denver and Seattle and the 49ers at 6:30. And she gives me this. She gives me that. What, and why was this? Well, because I just wanted you to see that even though it's a big game, see how casual they are in practice? They go about it just like it's any other game. Okay. It ain't any other game, but they are cool when they practice, I'll have to admit. When we come back, someone who's cool with a gun, the only woman who hosts a radio talk show about guns. Stay with us.
So the first thing that we have to be concerned about when we come into a range and we're shooting, or if you're in somebody's backyard and they have a range set up, or if you're in your house and you're using a gun for home protection, we always want to be mindful of safety. First, last, and always is safety, no matter what, when you're handling a firearm. Because we want to have fun, we want to enjoy it, but nobody wants to leave here with any holes they weren't born with.
Well, I think that's pretty good advice, don't you? Do you know that Daria Bruno is the only female radio host? So I'm told. Here's the information on her show. Lock, Stock, and Daria. Stick to Your Guns Radio, Saturdays 11 till noon on WHJJ 920 AM. Famous broadcaster in your day, of course.
Way back in the day, 100 years ago, but...
You left the business.
For a little while.
And you did this.
I did that. Well, actually,
Bring everybody up to date.
Okay, I did furniture for about 8 years, and then another 2 when I came back to Rhode Island. I was flying back and forth to Louisiana because I still had a store down there. So I was still doing furniture.
So you were on B101 for a long, long time.
Yes.
Right? What is that? Was it then
10
called
years.
B101?
I was with Paul Perry. It was B101. It was oldies then, and I was on from. I started in '89 at doing nights, 7 to midnight. Then I was moved to the morning show. In
there are people watching this right now
90.
going, oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
1990 and all the way to 2000.
Okay.
And in 2000, February, we moved to Louisiana to take an opportunity in radio.
Okay, and it didn't work.
It didn't pan out. No, it didn't work out. It was a
different place.
It was a different place, different state of mind, different everything, and it was kind of a big awakening for us. We thought that we could just
Us being you,
my
your
husband and I at
you.
the time,
Okay.
and so we thought we could just take ourselves and plug us into any market. It's not quite, didn't quite work out that way. But we tried it.
There's a lot of success and sob stories
Sure.
that we all have
That's
in this
right.
business. So you came back and you got into the furniture. Your furniture down there. So you're doing guns now.
I know. I'm doing guns. Okay,
How
so
did that happen? Go fast, because I want to talk about guns.
Yeah, I will. When I got down there, the guns everywhere. Guns everywhere. 4-year-olds toting guns around,
In Louisiana.
shooting with their families. Okay, it's fellowship,
Right.
and they're not shooting anybody because they're weaned on guns. They're taught about safety, knowledge, education from the womb, and I was fascinated by it. And when people are doing business, say up here on a golf course, down there they're doing it in a deer stand. So I had to get in the game. And I was always kind of fascinated. My dad had an excellent friend that used to deer hunt all the time and bring us deer meat, and I loved it. And I used to love hearing his stories. We'd be around the kitchen table listening to him tell about his stories in hunting. So I was kind of fascinated with that world too. And when I got down there, I said, this is my opportunity. I can ask anybody to take me shooting. And it was a gentleman that worked for me that took me shooting, and I fell in love. And the next day I went out and I bought 2 firearms. I was fascinated with the whole thing, and so I decided that I was going to, it was actually my ex-husband who gave me the idea. He said, hey, you love radio and you love guns. Why don't you do a gun talk show? And I said, great idea. And I called WHJJ and asked them if they had any block programming, and I just started it.
So how long has that been on?
3 years. It was 3 years in August.
But you must be super certified right now to
I
teach,
am.
right?
I am. I have.
How long did that take you to get all revved up that way?
Probably a couple of years to do that, to get everything. And I've come as far as I can in the pistol certifications with the NRA. I just have one more to get, which is Chief Range Safety Officer. That's the last one that I need.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to abbreviate this segment because I want to talk all about what Daria's doing, teaching, and we've got some cool video too. Stay with us.
Pushing on that gun to try to counter the recoil. Well, I'm not going to let that gun recoil. So you're going to push on it. Well, if you're pushing on this gun, we'll take the empty gun and demonstrate. If I push on this gun while I'm making my shot, while I'm squeezing my trigger, where's my gun pointed when that bullet comes out? Down.
That's Daria teaching Denise, who is our assistant chief engineer, who actually, Denise has got co-producer credit on 2 shows now. She's 2 for 2 for good ideas coming to the table here. Why are you waving to me? Oh, that's a cue for how much time I have in this segment. It's been a long week. Anyway, Daria Bruno is here. She's the only, as you've been able to tell, the only woman hosting a radio talk show about guns.
Nationally.
Well, you air it locally.
I do.
But you probably, I think it's probably got a national marketplace.
It does.
Yeah.
It
So
does.
good
Well,
luck
with the
that.
internet, everything does now.
Yeah, no
basically.
kidding. So you all revved up after you were in and out of the radio business, so the furniture business, and you picked this up, and you run a gun school called the
DB Live Fire.
Okay.
And it's my initials, obviously, Daria Bruno Live Fire.
How's
And
business?
It's good. It's good. It was actually, it's kind of slowed down a little bit this year. I think it's starting to pick up. Well, this year is still young, but I think with pending legislation that might be cropping up again, or bills that might be cropping up again at the State House, I think people are starting to get concerned and they want to take some lessons. But last year, was very good, and I think it had a lot to do with Sandy Hook. I think it had a lot to do with Obama's re-election, and people were starting to get geared up thinking, I better do this now because I might not be able to do it soon, and it never happened. Legislation, the bills got killed nationally and locally here. Well, not killed, I shouldn't say that because they'll crop up again, but tabled for the time being. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of high drama around firearms right now, and I think they've missed the point on X number of things. I mean, I see both sides of a lot of the gun arguments out there, but you know, the Sandy Hook thing, what still amazes me is how if our kids are our precious cargo, and certainly they are, what did we do to actually secure schools after that happened? Nothing. We went around running around about gun legislation, more for show, I think, than anything else.
What stops a bad guy with a gun? Right? What stops a bad guy with a gun?
A gun.
A good guy with a gun. And so they rely on the police to show up. Well, if you have armed guards in school, they can cut down on a lot of collateral damage because they're waiting for cops to get there. And they can't get there as quickly as somebody in the school.
So tell me about the female part of this whole thing. How do guys respect your teaching them how to use a firearm?
I think they do. I really do. I think that I do get a lot of gentlemen students, and I also get the guys that call for their wives because I think they feel more comfortable having their wives or their girlfriends or their moms, sisters, aunts, relatives having a female instruct them.
Well, I'm guessing you have to kind of show your street cred with men, but you probably have an empathy with women about, I don't know, the born nervousness about the whole thing, correct?
Exactly, definitely. There is a lot of that. Women tend to be excellent shooters because they pay attention. They don't come in with any preconceived notion. There's no machismo, so to speak.
Like, I know what I'm
how
doing
to do
before
this.
I know what I
how to
do.
do this.
Right,
I watched
right,
Clint
right.
Eastwood. I watched John Wayne for years. You know, move out of the way. I know what I'm doing.
right.
That's not every guy, and that's not even a lot of guys. But I think that there's that perception that they have to kind of be like, okay, I know what I'm doing. But the gentlemen that I have, they're like, look, start me from crawling, baby blocks, baby steps.
So, we only have a minute's time here. Tell me, what is your message to people who are interested in actually learning how to operate a gun?
Well, it's safety, knowledge, and education. That's what I do. I want people to be empowered. I don't want them to be scared of their firearm. I want them to have the utmost respect for their firearm, especially if they're thinking about getting a concealed carry permit, if they want to go that route, which is a tough thing to do in Rhode Island. But the responsibility is huge. There's a lawyer attached to every single bullet. And if God forbid something gets out of hand or you're not treating that gun with the utmost respect and an accident happens, there should never be an accident. There's no second chance. What do you tell a guy that's sitting there, bleeding, I'm sorry? No. So that's what I want people to handle their guns safely, accurately, effectively. Safety first, last, and always.
We'll have you back for conversations on this as we go. Nice to meet you. By the way, I got myself a hat. It's the Lock, Stock, and Daria hat. And our radio show is tomorrow morning at 11, so tune in to HJJ. Great to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, too.
work.
Thanks for having me.
Your State of Mind when we come back. Stay with us. By the way, did you notice how accurate Denise was with her shooting? Pretty good. I'm very, very impressed. Anyway, your State of Mind, I'm always impressed by that. 228-1886 is the voicemail number. stateofmind@myritv.com is the email. Of course, you can tweet and Facebook post like this Twitter post. Kim writes, really impressed that at Dan Yorke Show, that's me, had Dominic Chianese as his guest, one of my absolute favorite actors, a true artist. Yes, Uncle June in The Sopranos. And you know what the great thing about it was? As tough a character as he played on The Sopranos, I've never met a more peach of a guy. Great stuff. Thanks for joining my State of Mind. We'll see you Monday on MLK Day next week. Go Pats. I hate saying that, but go Pats.